From dangerous car crashes to assassination attempts, stay tuned to number 1 to find out how many times the eastern seaboard of the United States has almost been nuked. Number 10. Tracy Morgan's minibus crash. Celebrities spend a lot of time on the road, and sometimes tragedy can strike at a moment's notice. On June 7, 2014, comedian Tracy Morgan was riding in his minibus with his friends and show crew when a large tractor trailer lost control and careened into Morgan's vehicle. The accident caused massive damage and even killed one of Morgan's best friends that was riding with him. Morgan was also severely hurt in the accident, sustaining broken bones and a major brain injury. He ended up in the hospital for a week in a medically induced coma. When he came to, he was blind for nearly a week before his sight returned. The accident led to a long recovery process of physical therapy and lots of healing. What's more amazing is that Morgan states that he may have gone to the afterlife. He remembers specifically speaking with his deceased father, who told him that it simply wasn't his time to go. Whatever may have happened due to the accident, Morgan had a very close call that nearly ended his life. Number 9. Ronald Reagan's assassination attempt. Another high-profile close call involved President Ronald Reagan. On March 30, 1981, Reagan was leaving a hotel and approached his limo when John Hinckley pushed his way through the crowd and shot at the president. Security was able to quickly get Reagan into the limo and to a hospital, but it would be a long road to recovery. Reagan struggled to live for days and had major problems with breathing. In an interview about the incident, he stated he remembered a nurse holding his hand all night and guiding him along with his breathing when he wanted to give up. When he tried to thank her the next day, staff of the hospital claimed that no one in the hospital had visited him the night before. Even stranger, a similar situation played out in the 1960s when Reagan had pneumonia. He remembered a nurse holding his hand, again, no one being able to identify the nurse. Many presidents have been assassinated, but few have managed to survive an attempt, especially those who were shot. Reagan was very lucky to survive. Number 8. Nikki Sixx overdosed. Rock and roll superstardom and drugs have a tendency to go hand in hand, so it's no surprise that sometimes rockers go a bit overboard with their drug use. Nikki Sixx of Motley Crue fame did just that one night in the 1980s. 2 days before Christmas in 1987, the band was partying when Nikki was doing every kind of drug. When he took another hit of one of the illegal narcotics, he passed out nearly instantly. People tried to resuscitate him, but had no luck. Radio stations actually reported his death that night, as he was technically dead for over an hour. Like many others with near-death experiences, Sixx remembers having an out-of-body experience and seeing the events unfold from up above his body. When paramedics arrived, they gave him a shot of adrenaline to bring him back, which luckily worked. As a side bonus for him and his bandmates, this event inspired the song "Kickstart My Heart," one of the band's biggest hits. Number 7. George Lucas wrecks his car. Cars are a great tool for having a near-death experience. Many people have had bad wrecks over the years, and no one is exempt from the danger, including famous people. George Lucas is a prime example. Years before he had ambitions of filmmaking, Lucas wanted to be a race car driver. Late in his senior year of high school, he got a powerful Auto Bianchi Bianchina and enjoyed taking it out for a spin. On June 12, 1962, though, he went out for a drive, and although he was driving a powerful car, an even faster one managed to sideswipe him at 90 miles per hour. The impact sent him into a ditch, leaving Lucas struggling to survive. Lucas stayed in the hospital for over 2 weeks, having sustained major injuries while totaling his precious car. After his recovery, Lucas found himself, not surprisingly, less interested in becoming a race car driver. Instead, he fell in love with photography and filmmaking, and this led him to go to school and soon become the legendary filmmaker. Who knows what great films we would never have seen if it weren't for his near-death experience. Number 6. Harrison Ford crashes a plane. Speaking of legendary films, movie star Harrison Ford has always had a love for flying as well as acting. I mean, we should have guessed that by the way he handled that Millennium Falcon. With thousands of hours of flight training though, he still wasn't immune to the dangers of near-death events. On May 5th, 2015, Ford took off from the Santa Monica airport in his vintage World War II plane and quickly had trouble. He tried to turn around to return to the airport, but he knew he couldn't make it. Ford chose to take his plane down onto a local golf course where he and the plane sustained serious damage. Fortunately, Ford recovered over the course of a few weeks, but this was not the first time he had had trouble in the air. In 2000, his plane skidded off a runway when landing in Nebraska, and in 1999, he also landed a helicopter on its side in Los Angeles. Both times he was unharmed, but it just goes to show that near-death events can happen to anyone at any time. Number 5. Queen Victoria evades assassination. The rich and famous are always at more risk of assassination attempts, especially the famous leaders of the world. Years ago, these attempts were much riskier than today due to more lax security. Queen Victoria knew this all too well as she would go through many assassination attempts during her reign. The first was on June 10, 1840. Traveling with her husband Prince Albert, the royal carriage passed by a crowd of onlookers. From that crowd emerged Edward Oxford with 2 guns. He took a shot at the Queen and, fortunately, missed. Before being tackled to the ground, he managed to pull out a second gun and shoot again. And missed again. While she survived this attempt on her life, Queen Victoria would go on to be nearly killed another 7 times, each event similar to the former. Every attempt occurred while riding in the royal carriage and when a gunman emerged from the crowd. The first assassination attempt was a very dangerous one though for the Queen, as she was pregnant and could have never given birth to the offspring that would continue to lead England, including her children who would help end World War I decades later. Number 4. Abe Lincoln nearly had a fatal duel. Abraham Lincoln may be famous for many things, including his unfortunate assassination. However, he could have died much younger, well before becoming president, if he had gone through with a planned duel. When he was a state senator in Illinois, Lincoln had a rivalry with fellow statesman James Shields. Lincoln wrote satirical letters about Shields and his lack of leadership, and went as far as to have them published in the local papers. This infuriated Shields and led him to challenge Lincoln to a duel. Fortunately for the world, both men had good friends that begged them not to go through with the duel, and Lincoln would later retract the letters. But who knows how fatal this could have been and how American history would have changed had they gone through with it. What do you think the outcome would have been? Let us know in the comments below. As always, if you like this video, take a moment to click that like button. Also, if you're not already a Zero to Hero subscriber, now is a great time to fix that by clicking the subscribe button right now. Number 3. Vasily Arkhipov helped evade a nuclear attack. Nuclear war has hung over the world for decades, but luckily for the world, it has never fully broken out. However, there was a day in the 1960s where the US and Russia came very, very close. During the early 1960s, Russian troops stationed nuclear bombs off the coast of Cuba, much to the horror of the United States. In 1962, a US ship tried to scare off a Russian submarine by dropping blank charges into the water right above the sub. Naturally, this scared the Russians inside, and they decided they needed to retaliate with their nuclear-tipped torpedoes. 2 of the 3 officers on board agreed to launch the nukes. However, the 3rd officer, Vasily Arkhipov, refused to agree, forcing the troops to call Moscow for further instructions. Moscow told them to stand down. Had it not been for Vasily and his decision not to agree, the Cold War could have ended immediately and led to nuclear attacks between the United States and Russia for years to come. Number 2. Vladimir Lenin survives being shot. Vladimir Lenin was a very popular leader in the Soviet Union, but not everyone was on board with his leadership. In 1918, war broke out in Russia between the monarchy loyalists and the new Bolsheviks, or future communists. Lenin used his power to lead the Bolshevik Revolution, much to the dismay of many Russians. After giving a speech at a factory later that year, a worker came up and shot Lenin point blank. Twice. Miraculously, Lenin survived the attack, but historians debate how losing a leader like Lenin could have changed the course of history and the rise of the Soviet Union. Number 1. The nuclear bombing of North Carolina. January 24, 1961 could have been a life-changing day for North Carolina and all of the United States. On this day, a B-52 bomber was tasked with transporting 2 nuclear warheads from one military base to another. When the plane went for a mid-air refueling, though, the captain was made aware of a major gas leak coming from the fuel tank. The plane attempted to land at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base near Goldsboro, North Carolina, when it lost control. Still between 1,000 and 2,000 feet up in the air, the plane broke up and soon crashed with 2 of the crewmen still aboard. In addition, the 2 nuclear warheads fell from the plane. The nukes both fell to the earth, one into a swamp and the other into a field. The one that landed into a swamp managed to mostly disintegrate and lose all of its charge, but the other one was a very different story. Nuke number 2 had activated and armed itself, with 3 of the 4 switches being turned on somehow during the drop. When the military later found it, they carefully deactivated the bomb and safely returned it to the Air Force Base. But a small town in North Carolina was one active switch away from being destroyed by a nuclear bomb that was 250 times more powerful than the one dropped on Hiroshima. Tell us what you think about these near-death events in the comments below, and take care.